What are the building blocks of nature and what are the laws governing them? Questions like these have made mankind curious for many years. In the early 19th century, John Dalton said that matter is made up of indestructible small particles known as atoms. Since then, the race to find the tiniest building block of nature was started. In 1897, J.J. Thomson showed that cathode rays were composed of previously unknown negatively charged particles, which he calculated to be smaller than atoms and having a very large charge to mass ratio. These negatively charged particles are known as electrons. This proved that the atoms are not indestructible and they are made up of even smaller particles. In 1911, Ernest Rutherford discovered that the atom has a tiny, heavy, and positively charged nucleus. Rutherford designed an experiment known as the gold foil experiment to use the alpha particles emitted by a radioactive element as probes. Most of the beams went through the foil, but a few were deflected. This proved that most of the atom is empty and almost all the mass is located in a smaller region known as nucleus. Until 1932, the atom was known to consist of a positively charged nucleus surrounded by enough negatively charged electrons to make the atom electrically neutral. But this idea was changed when English physicist James Chadwick proposed another neutral particle. He bombarded the hydrogen atoms in paraffin with the beryllium emissions, and by comparing the energies of recoiling charged particles from different targets, he proved that the beryllium emissions contained a neutral component with a mass approximately equal to that of the proton. He repeated the experiments for different targets like helium, nitrogen, and other elements and obtained the same results. He called it the neutron in a paper published in the February 17, 1932. So the new atomic model suggested that the nucleus is made up of protons and neutrons. Since then, scientists carried on experiments by using the particle accelerators like cyclotron and by studying the cosmic rays using bubble chambers to find more refined structure of the atom. In 1936, American physicists Carl D. Anderson and Seth Neddermeyer discovered muons from cosmic rays. This made the scientists certain that the atomic model was incomplete. Soon after the discovery of muons, a whole lot of new particles were discovered. As none of the particles fitted the believed model of atomic structure, Murray Gell-Mann in 1962 made a model to explain the behaviors of the newly discovered particles. He found that on arranging the particles we find certain patterns. The arranged particles are related through their charge and spin. He named it the eightfold way. Particles are sorted into groups as mesons and baryons. Within each group, they are further separated by their spin angular momentum. Symmetrical patterns appear when these groups of particles have their strangeness plotted against their electric charge. This was the beginning of a chaotic period in particle physics that has become known as the particle zoo era. Using this model, he predicted two conclusions. First prediction was the existence of the omega minus particle, which was later discovered in 1969, and the second one is that the triangular shape pointed to the existence of three fundamental particles known as quarks. Those were up, down, and strange quarks. His quark model served as a base of the currently understood model. These fundamental particles form the protons and neutrons in the nucleus. The proton is made up of two up quarks and one down quark, whereas the neutron is made up of one up quark and two down quarks. So up quarks, down quarks, and the electrons are the building block of nature. As newer and newer particles were being discovered, scientists tried to form a model that explains the existence of each particle and their interactions. Scientists working on different areas of quantum field theory put forward a model which became the most precise and tested model in physics. This is known as the Standard Model. The Standard Model categorizes the elementary particles. The first three particles are up quark, down quark, and electron. There's something else that gets added to this list is known as neutrino. A neutrino is a subatomic particle that is very similar to an electron but has no electrical charge and a very small mass. Neutrinos are one of the most abundant particles in the universe. As they have very little interaction with matter, they are incredibly difficult to detect. Now, up and down are quarks, and electron and electron neutrino are known as leptons. All these elementary particles are known as fermions. Fermions are classified according to how they interact or equivalently by what charges they carry. These four particles are known as the first generation fermions. As it turns out that there are two more generations, which means 8 more elementary particles. So we have 6 flavors in quarks and 6 flavors in leptons. The particles in the top row have plus 2/3 of one electronic charge, and the particles in the second row have minus 1/3 of one electronic charge. The neutrinos have zero charge. In case of mass, it increases as we go from left to right, and it is true for all the rows. But these fundamental particles make the matter in our universe. The existence of antimatter cannot be explained by these particles. That's why there are antiparticles of these fundamental particles. So the Standard Model includes the particles as well as their antiparticles. Their properties are slightly different. The Standard Model also explains how these particles interact with each other. In simpler words, it explains the fundamental forces of nature. There are 4 fundamental forces: electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, and gravitational force. The Standard Model explains such forces as resulting from matter particles exchanging other particles, generally referred to as force mediating particles. When a force mediating particle is exchanged, the effect at a macroscopic level is equivalent to a force influencing both of them, and the particle is therefore said to have mediated the force. The electromagnetic force is responsible for the chemical bonds in molecules. At a macroscopic level, electromagnetism allows particles to interact with one another via electric and magnetic fields. Electromagnetic force is carried by particles known as photons. Photons mediate the electromagnetic force between electrically charged particles. The photon is massless and is well described by the theory of quantum electrodynamics. In nuclear physics and particle physics, the strong interaction is the mechanism responsible for the strong nuclear force. It is called strong because it is strongest of all 4 fundamental forces. The strong nuclear force holds most ordinary matter together because it confines quarks into hadron particles such as the proton and the neutron. In addition, the strong force binds these neutrons and protons to create atomic nuclei. Most of the mass of a common proton or neutron is the result of the strong force field energy. The individual quarks provide only about 1% of the mass of a proton. The particles responsible for a strong nuclear force are known as gluons, as they glue the particles together. Gluons are thought to interact with quarks and other gluons by way of a type of charge called color charge. Color charge is analogous to electromagnetic charge, but it comes in 3 types rather than 1, which results in a different type of force with different rules of behaviors. These rules are detailed in the theory of quantum chromodynamics, which is the theory of quark-gluon interactions. In QCD, a quark's color can take one of the 3 values or charges: red, green, and blue. An antiquark can take one of the 3 anticolors called anti-red, anti-green, and anti-blue. Gluons are mixtures of 2 colors such as red and anti-green, which constitutes their color charge. QCD considers 8 gluons of the possible 9 color-anticolor combinations to be unique. We will discuss this topic another day as it is a very elaborate one. Now, unlike strong nuclear force, the weak force does not bind quarks. The weak interaction, which is also often called the weak force or weak nuclear force, is the mechanism of interaction between subatomic particles that is responsible for the radioactive decay of atoms. The weak interaction participates in nuclear fission. The theory describing it in terms of both its behavior and effects is sometimes called quantum flavor dynamics (QFD). However, the term QFD is rarely used because the weak force is better understood in terms of electroweak theory or EWT. In the weak interaction, fermions can exchange 3 types of force carriers, namely W+, W-, and Z bosons. The masses of these bosons are far greater than the mass of proton or neutron, which is consistent with the short range of the weak force. In fact, the force is termed weak because its field strength over a given distance is typically several orders of magnitude less than that of the strong nuclear force or electromagnetic force. To understand the interaction of the subatomic particles, Feynman diagrams are used. In theoretical physics, a Feynman diagram is a pictorial representation of the mathematical expressions describing the behavior and interaction of subatomic particles. The interaction of subatomic particles can be complex and difficult to understand. Feynman diagrams give a simple visualization of that. We will discuss this topic in another video. Although the three forces are well explained by the Standard Model, it fails miserably to explain the gravitational force. Gravitation allows particles with mass to attract one another in accordance with Einstein's theory of general relativity. But the connection between general relativity and quantum field theory is yet to be established. The reason for this is that quantum field theories of gravity generally break down before reaching the Planck scale. At this scale, present descriptions and theories of subatomic particle interactions in terms of quantum field theory break down and become inadequate. But this model does predict a particle mediating gravity known as graviton. If it exists, the graviton is expected to be massless because the gravitational force is very long range and appears to propagate at the speed of light. The graviton must be a spin 2 boson because the source of gravitation is the stress energy tensor, which is a second order tensor. Additionally, it can be shown that any massless spin-2 field would give rise to a force indistinguishable from gravitation because a massless spin-2 field would couple the stress-energy tensor in the same way that gravitational interactions do. This result suggests that if a massless spin-2 particle is discovered, it must be the graviton. Unfortunately, it is yet to be discovered. So, the Standard Model, including the force-mediating bosons, looks like this. But there was still a missing piece of this puzzle. The Standard Model explains how the particles interact, but it failed to explain what gives these particles their mass. In 1964, Peter Higgs, along with 5 other scientists, proposed the Higgs mechanism to explain why the particles have mass. It implied the existence of Higgs boson, which is a key building block in the Standard Model. In particular, the Higgs boson explains why the photon has no mass while the W and Z bosons are very heavy. Elementary particle masses and the differences between electromagnetism and the weak force are critical to many aspects of the structure of microscopic matter. In electroweak theory, the Higgs boson generates the masses of the leptons and quarks. As the Higgs boson is massive, so it must interact with itself. The Higgs mechanism is a very complex topic. We will cover it in another video. As the Higgs boson is a very massive particle and also decays almost immediately when created, only a very high energy particle accelerator can observe and record it. Experiments to confirm and determine the nature of the Higgs boson using the Large Hadron Collider at CERN began in early 2010 and were performed at Fermilab's Tevatron until its closure in late 2011. Mathematical consistency of the Standard Model requires that any mechanism capable of generating the masses of elementary particles becomes visible at energies above 1.4 tera-electron-volt. Therefore, the LHC designed to collide two 7 tera-electron-volt proton beams was built to answer this question of whether the Higgs boson actually exists or not. On 4th July 2012, two of the experiments at the LHC, ATLAS and CMS both reported independently that they found a new particle with a mass of about 125 gigaelectron-volt per c square, which is consistent with the Higgs boson, and on 13 March 2013 it was confirmed. Thus, the Standard Model became one of the most precise and tested model of all time. But still, there are many inconsistencies in this theory. It fails to explain gravity as we discussed earlier. In addition to that, it is unable to explain the existence of dark matter in our universe. The model is inconsistent with the emerging lambda CDM model of cosmology. It also lacks an explanation for the observed amount of cold dark matter and its contributions to dark energy. It is also difficult to accommodate the observed matter-antimatter asymmetry. The isotropy and homogeneity of the visible universe over large distances seems to require a mechanism like cosmic inflation, which would also constitute an extension of the Standard Model. Despite these problems, it is undeniable that Standard Model is the most accurate model in physics. So that is it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. If you did, please like and share this video, and to see such videos in future, do subscribe.